the critical drinker is not only a bad critic, but a bad influence on culture in general. The more you watch, the more it becomes clear that he has an agenda, and that agenda has nothing to do with being a fair and honest media critic, but rather to push the idea that women in non-traditional roles are somehow a bad thing.
And on the surface, Thor Ragnarok seemed like great fun, at least until you started to look a bit deeper and realised that he basically spends the whole movie playing second fiddle to strong female character and strong female antagonist.
The idea that somehow because straight white men are mildly less prominent in starring media roles nowadays, that this is automatically a bad thing, is a dumb idea.
But attacking women for being in non-traditional roles isn't his only angle. And it was very helpful of him to make a video essay going over his other angle to bash media. Why modern movies suck. They hate men, Part 1. In this video, he makes the claim that Hollywood is emasculating men. Some of his examples include Luke Skywalker from The Last Jedi, Rocky from Creed, James Bond from the Daniel Craig series, and Jaskier, The Witcher.
But yeah,
In functional terms, what you see on screen these days aren't really men in the normal sense.
As for Jaskier, he's a character on The Witcher. The Witcher is a series starring Henry Cavill as Geralt of Rivia, who is a brave, stoic monster hunter. I don't know if any character fits the definition of male power fantasy better than him. The drinker of course knows this because he purposefully chose this scene for his editing, or at least I hope he was paying attention while editing. But in this clip you see a shoulder in frame, and that shoulder is literally Geralt of fucking Rivia. The framing he does in this video is inherently dishonest.
Which brings us to one of the most deceptive aspects of Critical Drinker's content: the many bizarre choices in his editing.
Trope number 2, the deconstructed hero. Remember all those awesome, heroic male characters that you liked when you were growing up? Well, forget about them because they were never actually heroes in the first place, and modern Hollywood is determined to prove it to you.
For example, as he talks about the stoic badass male heroes from a bygone era, we see Iron Man. This is bizarre for a couple of reasons.
Yeah.
Let this... God damn it, so fucking stupid.
Yeah.
He just showed Tony Stark, who is literally like a modern action hero.
Mm-hmm.
He is a modern, like, what the
They're trying to destroy the heroes of our past, and I'm like, I really need some citation on that claim. What are you talking about?
Iron Man, Tony Stark, is from the current era of film, despite his swan song in Avengers Endgame. Drinker even uses the phrase, all those awesome male heroes you liked when you were growing up, which is truly weird, as Drinker is around our age. We were adults when the first Iron Man film debuted, and this isn't the only video in which he gets very loose with the age range that he's speaking to, seemingly casting the widest possible net to catch as much of the coveted male 18 to 49 demographic as he possibly can.
You know, it's funny to me that Critical Drinker is somebody who advocates so strongly for stoicism, when part of being stoic is being a straight talker. But if you look at what Critical Drinker does, he is really good at saying nothing. Of course, he rides the line of plausible deniability, just like all these other assholes. But there's two things that he does that are so blatantly dishonest that nobody should take them seriously if they're aware of this. First and foremost, as I'm sure the other guys have pointed out, it's very rare that the footage you see on screen has anything to do with what he's actually saying. And that's very intentional, by having his videos just be a consistent stream of quick 7-second long clips of various different parts of various different movies with various different themes and different plots and different characters and all that, is that he is essentially creating visually suggestive language. It's giving you an idea of something, but not telling you specifically what it is. And in doing so, it's up to you to fill in the blanks as to exactly what those specifics are. 2, the famous image of
The message.
First of all, when he shows it on screen, he shows it very briefly. It's impossible to take in the entirety of the image any one time he shows it on screen. But if you go download the image and take a look at it, what exactly is the message? What is the unifying theme here? There's a reason why he is not spelling it out for you in the image. This is a Rorschach test. When he shows you this and says this is
The message.
you decide what that message is. If you actually take Critical Drinker seriously as a movie critic, all you're really saying is that you are exactly as easy to manipulate as he thinks you are.
As awesome and badass as Iron Man is, and he is, stoic is not an accurate way to describe Tony Stark, of all people. Steve Rogers, sure. Captain America could be the picture in the dictionary next to stoic, but not Stark, who wears his anxiety on his sleeve, quips incessantly, often as a way to distract from his obviously overwhelmed emotional state.
Peace. I love peace. I'll be out of a job with peace.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. I don't. Oh, that's my peeve, you know.
Oh.
Sorry. Handing things.
Well,
don't ever hand me.
Over as soon as possible.
I don't like being handed things.
Because I loved it.
He doesn't like to be handed things.
Yeah, I have a peeve. I got it. I don't like people handing me things. Just
One thing I've proven is that you can count on me to pleasure myself.
You ever lose knowledge that your whole life?
Prepared to lose a few with you.
This usually works.
Well, performance issues. Not uncommon. 1 out of 5.
And you have to wear your hobby in the living room?
Just breaking it in, you know, it's always a little pinchy in the gooey bag at first, so.
They're less likely to admit to personal weaknesses, insecurity, and emotional fragility.
Iron Man 3 is literally about Tony having panic attacks and breaking down after the traumatic alien invasion of the Avengers film.
How did you get out of the wormhole?
Wait a minute. Sorry. Suit.
My diagnosis is that you've experienced a severe anxiety attack.
Hey, I admit it. My fault. I'm a piping hot mess. Nothing's been the same since New York. You experience things, and then they're over, and you still can't explain them. Gods, aliens, other dimensions. I'm just a man in a can.
They're less likely to admit to personal weaknesses, insecurity, and emotional fragility.
I didn't even mention New York.
Right, and then you just said it by name while denying having said it.
Just breathe. They coming back? The aliens?
Maybe. Can you stop? Remember what I told you that I have an anxiety issue?
Does this subject make you edgy?
Yeah, a little bit.
Want me to stop? You want me to
Remember
stop?
when I said to stop doing that? I swear to you, you're gonna freak me out. Oh man, you did it, didn't you? You happy now?
They're less likely to admit to personal weaknesses, insecurity, and emotional fragility.
What we needed was a pseudo armor around the world. Remember that? Whether it impacted our precious freedoms or not. That's what I said we'd lose. You said, we'll do that together too. We lost, and you weren't there. But that's what we do, right? Our best work after the fact. What are the Avengers? We're the Avengers, not the pre-Vengers. Okay. We need you. Your new blood. A bunch of tired old mules. I got nothing for you, Cap. I got no coordinates, no clues, no strategies, no options, zero, zip, nada, no trust. Liar.
The fact that he's included in this part basically renders Drinker's entire criticism of men in modern film moot. Stark having panic attacks, being overly quippy, and wearing his feelings on his face didn't prevent Drinker from considering him a badass male hero. Because men can be both. Something prevents Drinker from seeing Tony Stark for what he is. A nuanced, multifaceted hero who can be overwhelmed and rambling out of panic, or stoic, determined, and extremely competent, depending on context, like the situation and what the character is going through at the time. You know, like actual human beings.
Doth mother know you weareth her drapes?
Let's face it, this is not the worst thing you've caught me doing.
We're talking about like the laziness in the editing. I've been like, I know some of my videos, I've been lazy before in my editing, right? Like a clip, sometimes I have like a compilation that I'm putting into a video, right? A clip will slip in. But the thing is, especially also if you've watched like the Pillar of Garbage video, like he does edit, he purposefully
He knows what he's doing,
misconstrues the things he's editing to fit his point, to lie about it, you know? Like it's not just lazy editing, it's like, it's lazy and purposeful editing.
And then he says this.
And this isn't even mentioning how Ryan blatantly rewrites previous events to show you what he wants you to see instead of what actually happens.
The example Drinky gives for Ryan Johnson's blatant rewriting is the scene where Blanc and, as we later see, Helen spot Duke's voyeurism.
Batista's watching his girlfriend supposedly having an affair with Miles only to be observed by Blanc. Now look at the later version of this exact same scene. Notice how Helen's been added in here when she totally should have been visible before.
Except no, that isn't true. There's a reason the drinker plays these clips on mute. Let me put the sound back on for you. That was the first time we see this. There's a close shot of Duke, then we hear the twig snap, and then we pull back to a shot revealing Blanc. Here's the scene as we're shown it later on. We start with this slightly wider shot, revealing Blanc and Helen, then Helen leaves, causing that sound, and Duke turns round. This point is the moment we saw earlier on, and there's a very obvious, very obtrusive sound cue, the sole purpose of which is to communicate precisely this. Look, you can enjoy the way moments like this toy with the audience perspective, complementing the film's themes, these ideas of how we see and how we falsely composite and rationalize these perceptions away from the truth, away from what's really plainly shown to us, or you can dislike it. But what you can't do is lie about how the film constructs moments like these on a mechanical level. And that's what the drinker does here to cap off his video.
The traditional heroic male lead that was pretty much the bedrock foundation of cinema for almost 100 years is apparently no longer a viable commodity in entertainment today. They're too dated, too toxic, too dangerous to put into the limelight, and so they've been replaced with more acceptable alternatives.
So much of this video is Will Jordan merely grasping at straws to make a specific and inaccurate, perhaps cynical and dishonest, point. A point that only serves to incite outrage in his audience for modern films.
It would be nice to see a bit of balance and variety for a change, instead of Hollywood trying to push the unhealthy message that masculinity in all its forms is toxic, broken, and needs to change. How about showing us a range of positive male characters? How about acknowledging that men actually have something to...
I love that. Like we don't get that.
Yeah, like we don't get
really
that.
Struggling right now.
Showed. Fuck. He shows the Witcher one, a scene where there is two. He's making me lose my mind. He just debunked his whole video, right? So at the end he goes, "Oh, not every man needs to be the stoic man that I want them to be, right? As long as there's a little bit of like variation." That's exactly what movies are nowadays. If we go back to like the old days with like all these action heroes, there is less variation in men, you know?
And that's the problem with the Critical Drinker. If he was just a bad movie reviewer, that would be one thing. But it seems clear, the further you dive in, his goal isn't to talk about the media. His goal is to use the media to push the idea that straight white men are being pushed down and devalued in society. His goal is to push a political agenda under the guise of media analysis. That's why he frequently streams with the likes of Nerdrotic, Geeks and Gamers, Ryan Kennel, and so on. The noteworthy difference being, if you look at Drinker's videos in isolation, they appear far more neutral than anything on those other channels. Hell, you might even find a fair amount of videos that are largely, decent reviews on his channels. And that's what makes him far more deceptive than many others. If someone watches just one or two of his videos, he might seem like a funny Scottish guy acting like a drunk goofball, and it can be easy to dismiss some of his bad points.
But that's what makes him a gateway to much worse channels. He presents himself as unserious and says ideas that plant seeds in people's minds. He has a legion of defenders who blindly follow his reviews, using the fact that he's a published writer to prove that his points are correct, and that he understands narratives, no matter how insane or disconnected his point actually is.
Peter Dinklage publicly criticised Snow White for reinforcing negative stereotypes of people who have dwarfism. And because of this, the drinker declares that Dinklage has no sense of humour. And now, because of Dinklage's comments, the 7 dwarves have been altered to intelligent engineers instead of comedic relief.
The dwarves that were used for comedy effect in the original have been reworked into highly efficient, intelligent, and disciplined underground engineers. Why? Because apparently we can't depict little people on screen in a way that could be even vaguely interpreted as negative.
This is coming from the critical drinker, the same man who gets upset when straight white men are depicted as buffoons.
Can't have men in sort of positions of power. We can't have like traditional strong masculine men in lead roles anymore. And if you ever get a character like that, they almost always become the butt of a joke.
Isn't it funny how the only 2 male characters in this film are either portrayed as weak and pathetic or dumb and comical? Just something to think about. And of course, all the jokes are at the expense of the male characters.
The white guy is Fred, who's now the butt of every single joke. He's an idiot. He can't do anything for himself. All that stuff, and it's like a parody.
Here's a crazy idea. We're gonna make fun of all the male characters in our movie and just make them into bumbling morons. Because, like, apparently, in the eyes of modern Hollywood, a straight white male is not allowed to be like just a hero. He's not allowed to be good at anything, and he's not allowed to just do something genuinely inspiring and heroic.
It's interesting how he can understand the feeling of wanting positive representation when it comes to straight white men, but he can't afford that same sympathy to minority groups. I guess those minority groups should just accept that they are comedic relief and step aside and let the straight white men be the heroes.
If this video does nothing else, it needs to make it clear that calling the critical drinker a media critic is only true at the surface level. What he actually is a political channel designed to make white men, typically young white men, feel victimized by the media simply by being more representative of the world we live in. That somehow more women or minorities in action roles means that white men are under attack in the world. This is nonsense that is straight from the right-wing playbook that even plays into the racist white replacement theory. Critical Drinker doesn't say the worst rhetoric of the people who push these ideas. He leaves that to his friends, who he again frequently streams and makes videos with.
Chrissy, have you ever heard of the comedian Basha K. Ali?
No, that sounds like something you yell at before you blow up a plane.
Oh my God! Basha K. Ali!
Ali!
Friends, who many people will find through the Drinker's channels. Drinker plants ideas in people's minds that will push impressionable people towards an antisocial right-wing ideology, but does so in an easily accessible manner.
The problem with the critical drinker isn't that he has some bad takes, which any critic will have. Hell, even Siskel and Ebert famously have some bad takes. No, the problem with the critical drinker is that the message he presents pushes people towards unhealthy relationships with media, and in the direction of more extreme channels such as Geeks and Gamers, Nerdrotic, and Eric July. He has a massive platform that he uses to push white men into the idea that they are being victimized, causing them to blame feminism and wokeness, an idea that has no basis in reality, and his focus on the message prevents his reviews from ever reaching their true potential. And all of this together is what makes the critical drinker the worst movie critic.
We hope that even if you're a Drinker fan, you'll consider some of these points the next time you watch his content. We're not jealous. We aren't trying to use his name to build our own channel, any more than he is using Disney to build his. We're film fans, and we just hate to see people accept this guy at face value. Please be sure to subscribe, hit the like button, and share this video with anybody you think might appreciate it. We're far from the only people who see these problems with the critical drinker.
Men who kicked ass, triumphed against the odds, and saved the day.
Man, yeah, they don't make them like that anymore. When's the last time you guys saw a movie about a dude that triumphed over the odds and saved the day? To illustrate the point being made here, Top Gun Maverick, that's about a dude that defies odds and saves the day, I think, actually. So that one's not a good example. But Doctor Strange, that's where a guy faces overwhelming odds and then saves the whole multiverse. So yeah, oops. Well, Avatar: The Way of Water. Oh damn. Jurassic World Dominion. Oops. The Batman. Ooh, Thor: Love and Thunder. Spider-Man: No Way Home. Sonic the Hedgehog 2. Black Adam. I mean, come on. That's still like most movies are still about that.
Probably stuff like that. What am I thinking of? But yeah, like it hasn't I don't know, it's like Chinese, I think.
You fucking lot, like, how, God damn it, dude. Critical Drinker, tell me, when you make content that you know is stupid, and you know that you're just making it to appease idiots, how do you silence that little voice in the back of your head that says, like, you're a piece of shit? Why are you doing this, Bobby? Why are you such a piece of shit, Bobby? I'm assuming your name is Bobby. I've decided that. How do you suppress that little voice? Because, man, you are cleaning up with this Grift, bro. I don't know.
Will Jordan, since you apparently are watching our fucking content to some degree.
Hey Muller, you should debate some of your haters on EFAP. It would be hilarious. Bring organized chaos on.
I barely have enough time to review this. I'm behind.
Organized chaos came to mind, pretty quickly for you. What the fuck are you doing, man? Stop and think about what the fuck you're doing. Is this on purpose? Or are you a fucking moron?